Well, howdy there, folks. It is 7:30 p.m. on the 11th of December, 2021, and I welcome you back to Cast Talks. It's episode 59. 59 episodes of this show. My gosh. Well, I have to admit, I have my trepidations about returning to host every now and again, and today was one of those days. But actually being here and doing this always seems to put me in the mood to go back to it, despite how I might be feeling at the time. But all that said and done, I'll tell you a little bit about what this show is. This show is about hanging out in a nice, cozy, cozy, warm space for a couple of hours and just taking in the nice vibes of a fireplace or of a little cozy atmosphere. A nook somewhere where we can just hang out for a little while, listen to some good news, listen to maybe even a couple of nice animal videos, and just take it easy for a little while. And you can listen to my dulcet tones for the complete time if you'd like, or you can just not worry about it at all. And if you'd like, you can even come into chat and hang out with the rest of the nice people here. But that is completely up to you. And as for the rest of us, I hope all of you are having a lovely day. You're here, but we're sort of blendy, so can't say specifically any one of us is present. Well, I welcome all of you to Strida. All of you are welcome here. Blendy or not. So we have a lot of really good news today, a ton of great news, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you guys. So we'll get right into it. But before that, let me know how your week was. Give me a heads up if you've got a nice week story or a nice week thing to share, and if you do, I'd be more than happy to hear you out and to talk with you about it if you'd like. So today our story comes once again from Good News Network. Hundreds of roundabouts in 2 U.S. states are saving lives, reducing injuries, and lowering carbon emissions. This is by Andy Cordley from The Fourth. Why do Americans still construct traffic intersections? What makes cars sit idle for minutes at a time while spewing emissions at red lights? Well, not all U.S. states are stuck in the past. In the state of Indiana, 256 roundabouts, also called traffic circles, have been constructed since 2016, and the data is showing that Europeans have known for decades. They definitely reduce collisions, fatalities, traffic congestion, and fuel consumption. Not only that, roundabouts cut pollution while reducing construction and maintenance costs. Due to the fact that the only type of maneuver inside a roundabout is a right turn, they're safer. The intentions are quite obvious that even reckless and unpredictable drivers are trying to do. Furthermore, because entering the circle requires drivers to yield to others in the roundabout, there's a certain amount of attentiveness that all drivers must give, which will naturally provide more safety in a state that saw 700 people receiving injury every year from a running red light or from somebody else running a red light. If you miss your exit in a circle, you simply continue to circulate as normal until you arrive, once again, at the correct exit. For all of these reasons and more, Indiana has seen reductions of 90% in intersection injuries, while they are replaced with traffic circles, and 76% reduction in crashes resulting in these injuries. Wisconsin, too, has seen a significant number of fatalities disappear after the construction of nearly 500 traffic circles that exist on the Badger State's road network. Wisconsin has the most roundabouts of any U.S. state, with Indiana and Washington behind it. Overall, in roundabouts, we see injuries and serious injuries almost go down to nothing. Andrea Bill, a traffic safety engineer and researcher at the University of Wisconsin Traffic Operations and Safety Laboratory, told the Milwaukee Sentinel. I'm going to unlock my taskbars so they can not be showing me the time. There we go, perfect. Oh, it didn't save, my bad. No, it did, okay, cool. The service life of a traffic circle is about 25 years, compared to 10 years on the lights of an intersection. The lack of lights also saves around $5,000 a year in energy costs, and traffic quantity can be augmented by 30 to 50% without creating additional congestion. The evidence is pretty unavoidable at this point. Constructing an intersection regulated by lights would be like building a new line of Fords with engines from the 1980s. It's just deliberately going backwards. Let's hope more states circle around to these impressive statistics and make changes that can cut down on accidents, pollution, and costs. I really like that one. I'm a huge fan of circle intersections, whatever those are called. I think they're really cool. I have a really big liking of these innovative ways to keep people, because people don't want to stop when they're driving. They just want to keep driving until they get where they're trying to go. And this certainly helps with that, because if the circle is moving, then there's usually going to be room for somebody else in it, because people are constantly leaving it. So the actual number of people needing to stop and yield is reduced, and the amount of movement that is being perpetuated is increased, so that there's less time for people to be sitting waiting in traffic and more time for them to actually just be driving. I'm into that, I have to say. I don't know, who would dislike that, because seriously, it seems like it's just good for everybody. So I'm going to have this little window capture here for you guys. Let's make that a little smaller. There we go. Pittsburgh Women's Food Rescue, an app that diverts 20 million pounds of surplus into 17 million meals for those in need. This is from the 5th. In a recent episode of the Food Network competition, Chopped, I have a story about this I might share later on, contestants were challenged to make a dish using a basket of random ingredients like bacon, mangoes, and banana bread. Imagine the same challenge, except that the basket has been replaced by 1,000 pounds of discarded food. This was the challenge confronting the Pittsburgh nonprofit 412 Food Rescue. They had connected with hundreds of local businesses, discovering hundreds of pounds of good surplus food available for donation every day. And using its own app, the group had created the largest volunteer-led food transport network in a single urban area. But there was no kitchen in the region that could accommodate the really large gifts coming from big donors and turn those into single-serving meals. So in 2019, the organization came up with a solution by opening its own kitchen, the Good Food Project. Paying no money for food and creating zero waste, the kitchen is a model for effective food recovery and distribution. Food waste makes up about 25% of all material in landfills, more than any other single source of waste, and when it rots, is a leading cause of greenhouse gas emissions. The Good Food Project prevents waste by transforming food that might go to the landfill into healthy, heat-and-eat meals and shelf-stable items packaged in compostable containers. These meals are then distributed to nonprofit partners serving the needy. The donations come from partners like Gordon Food Service, which may find themselves with food that is still perfectly good to eat, but cannot be sold due to aesthetic standards, sell-by timelines, or transit mishaps. Sorry, late listening to another streamer was being a goof, but you made it. That's alright. I'm glad you're here. We're only just getting started, so it's okay. I think the containers are compostable, so you can put them in a compost pile and they'll break down, probably over about a week or a few months maybe. I don't know if you can actually eat the containers. Maybe, I mean, if it can be composted, I suppose you could make a meal from that. I think that would... That's the next step, right, is you eat the containers too. It's like that edible water, if you've seen those little water globs that you can eat. Stupid wind in it. Yeah, the wind alerts, right? The pockets of water you can hold in your hand and drink from. That makes me think of the movie Aunt Z, where they did that with the water there. It always looked like it was so tasty. That was like a handful, like a big drop of water. Lee Lizarrando launched 412foodrescue.org in 2015 to redirect food from the waste stream directly to households and nonprofits. To make that pivotal connection, she created an app that gives volunteers pickup locations and delivery destinations, so they can jump in their car and close the gap between the food surplus and those who need it. The app, Food Rescue Hero, is now used by a growing team of 25,000 volunteer drivers in 15 cities. Together with 800 food retailers, they have turned more than 70 million pounds of surplus into nearly 57 million meals and mitigated more than 30 million pounds of CO2. That's a pretty outstanding thing to have accomplished, in my opinion. Meanwhile, their kitchen in Millvale, on the outskirts of Pittsburgh, has produced over 17,000 meals and is currently creating upwards of 600 meals per week, all with zero cost for food. While the kitchen, which is solar powered to help offset energy use, has been expanding its reach, it has also been reducing its waste, all the way to zero. The project stabilizes and uses every ounce of food that it can, and the remainder is composted. It's a lot of food. Look at those. That looks like a bread bowl almost. I've never had a bread bowl before. The kitchen project is just the latest in the garrison of good news, emanating from Lee's determination to solve 3 problems at once: food waste, food insecurity, and the climate crisis. This is probably a quick video. Yeah, she looks like she's doing a good thing. I don't think that video is going to really show their process very much, but it's really good. So, my story about the TV show Chopped. Me and my brother and my sister, plus my mom and dad sometimes, used to watch a TV show. It's probably the same TV show named Chopped. And we would have this thing where my brother would say chopped and he would chop something. And, you know, this is probably season 3 we were watching, and he was in a mood of some kind. And when I was leaning back to yawn, he said chopped and karate chopped me in the Adam's apple. Not like too hard, but hard enough that like I was really stunned and a little choked up because of it. And he's been very repentant for that moment. I think his whatever was happening got the better of him, and I was taken back because I've never been chopped there before, and I think maybe he just had a moment of lesser virtues, I suppose, but it's okay. I do think, though, I've heard, and I think this is true. I'm going to believe it just because it sounds very true, that the amount of food that is created every day is enough to sustain every person on the planet. It's just that getting that food to where it is needed, to the hungry mouths that desire it and are suffering from not having it, is the major issue. Right, because we make a huge amount of food. Every day the world makes a ridiculous amount of food. And if there was a way where everybody in the world could have access to the same logistical system that provides food where it's needed, which of course would be a almost insurmountable idea in my opinion, then basically we would just make the food we need every day, and every day the people who need to eat it or want to eat it would get to. I don't know how that would happen though. The first thing I think of is either 3D printing of some kind or drones that are so ubiquitous they can just get everywhere on the planet, right? Some kind of super crazy hover drones that go so fast and are just everywhere. They just sort of assembly line everything to each other. Wouldn't that be crazy? That might actually be what the future looks like though. It's just drones flying overhead doing everything. I'll let you know. I don't even like Twinkies, but if someone 3D printed one, I would be like, hey, I mean, I want to see how it tastes, right? The person who doesn't like it should taste the Twinkie so that you can tell if it's a better Twinkie because it's 3D printed or not. That's pretty fresh though, right? I mean, if you're 3D printing that thing, it's about as fresh as it can get. Assuming that the same rules apply to its creation. Which that's a whole other subject that I'm not sure I can approach properly. I think my friend Crazy could, though. So here's our next one from December the 5th. See the incredible images in the Wildlife Photographer of the Year contest and vote on the People's Choice Award. This is from Good News Network. The 58th Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition is underway, with sumptuous entries from photographers of all ages, nationalities, and experience levels. This year's 25 unforgettable scenes include a pair of golden pheasants above and a breathtaking school of barracudas and a kangaroo with her baby Joey framed by a fire's destruction. London's Natural History Museum hosts the annual photo competition and is inviting fans to vote online to choose the winner of the People's Choice Award. And based on our favorite images below, it will not be an easy choice to make. From over 50,000 images that have been entered from over 95 countries, these 25 images are currently on display at the highly acclaimed Wildlife Photographer of the Year exhibition at the museum in London. The winner will then be showcased until the exhibition closes on June 5th. The top 5 People's Choice Award images will also be displayed online, joining the winners chosen by the esteemed panel of judges that were announced earlier this year. It's an incredible challenge to pick just one of these images, said Dr. Natalie Cooper. We're looking forward to discovering which wild moment emerges as the public's favorite. Oh, look at this. An Arctic fox. I wonder what that fox is thinking about. You know, I always am curious if foxes have the ability to understand exactly what's happening in the world, you know, how cold they are, how warm they might feel. I imagine that they have the same thoughts as almost any other animal similar to them, but, you know, I wonder if they have the same longing for human attention that a lot of other animals do. I would assume so. The photos of animal families are particularly moving. Check out these grebes, lions, and monkeys. You know, I don't see grebes very often. I feel like being on the back of a grebe and being in one of its like wing pockets back there and just riding along, very safe very secure within the wings of your parents. I feel like that's a very good place to be. I've talked about being the egg of an owl before. I think I've talked about that before. But this is also one of those things where you think it'd be really nice if you could, like, enjoy that warmth and experience. I think it'd be nice. Displayed alongside insights from Natural History Museum, scientists and experts, the 100 images will be showcased in spectacular lightbox displays at the Wildlife Photographer of the Year exhibition. Orangutan baby. Oh. And here, lions in the rain. I like lions in the rain. They look very majestic and graceful, but at the same time, they're also maybe a bit melancholy. You know? Maybe a bit melancholy. I'm not sure. Oh, this is a good one. The Monkey Cuddle. I like this one a lot. You can just barely see the face of a monkey that is amidst the fur of, I would imagine this is its parents that are holding each other tight, and the baby is sort of swaddled by the lovely embrace of its parents, almost tabby colored fur, almost brindle maybe. And look very peaceful. They almost look, you know, human-like, just how peaceful they are. The exhibition will also be touring across the UK, Australia, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Germany, the United States of America, and more. Oh gosh. This kangaroo and the pouch baby are like looking around like, wow, there's a lot happened here. Well, you know, it's a lot going on. Well, that's the end of that one. I like seeing those images. I have a good feeling about seeing images like that. I'm thinking about Twinkies now. I feel like that was a Jeremy thing right there, but whoever it was that suggested that. I don't even like Twinkies, but they, you know, they sound good right now if they're 3D printed. It was Jeremy. Okay, I thought so. Jeremy has a big sweet tooth. I'm sympathetic because I do too. So here's our next one from the 6th. Impact absorbing traffic light poles could save lives, by Andy Corbley. Things which bend but don't break tend to be revolutionary, and an Australian firm hopes that the nation's drivers will agree the next time they smash their car into a traffic light. Australians pay close to $90 million a year in damage and injuries from collisions with traffic lights, but a new, flexible one that can protect the car as well as the pole should help reduce that figure when they're ready for use next year on the roads down under. Streetlights and traffic light poles tend to be rigid and unyielding, but news for an oncoming driver and for the pole as well. As the collision is strong enough without any flexibility, the pole will simply snap. The University of South Australia's Dr. Mohammed Uddin is working to replicate this revolution and create a flexible version of the bottom collision risk section of the basic streetlight, and is partnering with an Australian company to help him manufacture it, reports New Atlas. As an example, during the Middle Ages, iron swords were rigid, and they snapped in men's hands if bent in battle. Steel changed everything, as suddenly the sword could bend, but return to its original shape. Steel. I love steel. Just the word is great. The streetlight is mounted onto a bollard, which is buried under the concrete of the roadside. Turning the bottom reaches of the bollard into a cone-shaped cavity with the wide end of the cone on the top. The outside of the cavity is filled with polyurethane foam. At rest, it stands up straight, but if hit by a car, the foam compresses, which allows for the pole to move and tilt with the impact, reducing damage to the pole, the car, and most importantly, the driver. Udin hopes the technology will be ready next year and for traffic light poles. We expect these new energy-absorbing traffic lights will be the standard model going forward, not only for new installations, but also to gradually replace existing lights, said Udine. Lovely. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about... So, the movie Alien is a good example of this. In the movie Alien, inside of their ship, almost everything is padded, right? Almost everything is padded with some kind of measure to stop them from hurting themselves should they encounter what is essentially space turbulence or a meteor hitting them or their ship receiving an impact of any kind. Or in space, when the gravity goes off and turns back on, they might fall and injure themselves. And so everything in the entire ship that can be padded is padded. I imagine it's very soft padding too, but probably very difficult to clean up. That's sort of what this is in the direction of, is padding everything that can be, so that in the event of a collision of a vehicle in any circumstance, the collision is probably like 25% as bad as it would be, because just fast-moving steel hitting stationary steel, it's kind of like that unmovable object versus unstoppable force situation, where when they meet, the only thing that can happen is that these two instances have to find a conclusion to reach because of both their forces and their resistances. And usually that is a very traumatic and injuring thing. But if you just make it so that the immovable object just moves, it moves out of the way kind of and floats against the current of energy, but also stopping it a little bit so that like the person doesn't just keep plowing forward. That would probably make your car quite a bit more, assuming cars become more resilient in the future as well. It might even be like hitting a lamppost. It just doesn't mean anything. It might just be like, oh, hit a lamppost, keep going. No damage done, everything's fine. It makes me wonder if buildings will ever be padded like that. I wouldn't be against that though, padded buildings. I wouldn't be against that at all. Maybe you could even make like invisible padding for like windows. Man, wouldn't that be crazy? What a crazy world that would be. But hey, I'd be into it. So this is a huge one. A new stem cell treatment looks to have cured a man of type 1 diabetes. This is pretty miraculous if you ask me. This is from Andy Corbley from the 6th. Growing new pancreas cells from unprogrammed stem cells has possibly cured a man of type 1 diabetes. The doctor told the New York Times that this is the biggest development in treatment for the disease since the discovery of exogenous insulin production 100 years ago. 64-year-old Brian Shelton got an infusion of insulin-producing cells in the pancreas, the kinds which can't function properly in diabetes victims, after his wife signed him up for a trial run by Vertex Pharmaceuticals. Before, his life had been governed by the levels of his blood sugar. Now his daily insulin requirements are down 91%, accompanied by robust improvements in glucose control. It's a whole new life. It's a miracle, Shelton told the Times. The trial was organized by a Harvard scientist who had 2 children join the 1.5 million Americans who suffer from type 1 diabetes. This is the first of 5 years in which the trial of 17 patients with severe type 1 will be running. The results of the first stage have not been peer-reviewed, and so expectedly, the scientists that are excited about the results are also urging caution because it's still early days. The results from the first patient treated with the stem cells are unprecedented, said Bastiano Sana, PhD. What makes these results truly remarkable is that they were achieved with treatment at half the target dose. Ooh. Funded by the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, Harvard's Dr. Doug Milton took 20 years to convert stem cells into islet cells, or those islet cells, the insulin-producing pancreatic denizens. In 2014, Milton partnered with Dr. Sana to his previous job to start a company called Sema for the purpose of bringing to market a potential stem cell treatment, and along with other biologists, was able to demonstrate that for the first time, there was a repeatable, scalable method for growing islet cells, and that they could cure diabetes in rodents. Next, Milton and his partners and colleagues closed a $950 million sale of Sema to Vertex Pharma, who put up the money for the trials as they needed to see if injections of that manufactured islet cells could be done at a scale safely, and if the immunosuppressant drugs typical of anyone receiving any kind of kidney transplant did not cause long-term adverse health outcomes. The night the trial results came in, Mr. Shelton was taken to dinner by Dr. Milton, who revealed that Shelton was, at least for the moment, cured of the disease. The Times touchingly reports that at the moment Shelton checked his blood sugar levels, which were perfect, and then had dinner, after which they were still perfect. Holy moly, folks. That's pretty crazy stuff. I mean, diabetes is one of the worst diseases we have as far as how widespread it is and how many people have to treat it and how expensive it is for our country everywhere, basically. It's a huge problem. In physical therapy, they told us if we are in a crowded situation and people are bumping into us, the natural thing to do is brace yourself. But the correct thing to do is to take a step in the same direction you got hit in, to move with it. You're a lot less likely to fall down. That is the same concept of those flexible pulls. It's very true. Not only that, but the acceptance of a weight against yourself, right? Going with that flow. Oh gosh, this reminds me of a story. I have a story suddenly. Going with the flow is an important thing to do in life, and I mean in almost every circumstance. So when I was in class in high school, there was this sort of like a dare. If you've ever heard of the dare society, like dare to not do drugs, that sort of thing. And my teacher at the time, I believe I was in, oh Lord, maybe 9th grade, 8th grade. No, probably 9th grade, because 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I was in 9th grade, and the teacher had handed out these like sheets, and they had this drawing on them about like the flow of life as if it was a river, and saying how if you go with the flow, you end up in an eddy that takes you into a pond that leads nowhere instead of flowing out into the sea. And I was like, this is very strange. They're trying to describe something that's obviously not intended to be taken so seriously. If you have to ask me, I think it's boomer logic, but I have my own things to say about that, which I will not get into too seriously. But just taking some of that resistance and moving with it, adapting to it. That is what I mean with go with the flow. I don't mean it in some kind of sinister, become I don't know what sort of thing they were assuming it would mean, but certainly just bending with the motion of life, not resisting it or sheeple. Thank you. That summed up exactly what I was trying to say. Lovely. Just lovely. So this is a cool looking thing, though. This floating continent could collect and recycle plastic from the ocean in the future. This is from Andy Corbley from the 6th. Look at this crazy superstructure. Look at that thing. Can you imagine that just existing in the ocean, and then it's just like sucking up the microplastics every day, sucking them up? This is a rendering from Lenka Petrovka. I might have said that wrong. A large, self-sustaining, floating research lab as big as an island could be the next big thing in ocean cleanup. The 8th continent, as it's called, oh my gosh, has won the 2020 Grand Prix Prize for Architecture and Innovation of the Sea, and is designed to allow the operators to live, work, eat, sleep, and study there full-time. Looking like something out of Thunderball, I have not seen that movie, but I'm sure it's true. The eighth continent is a water lily-like marine station that's chained to the bottom of the sea, but designed to float in the ocean currents. It's modeled to be a living organism that is fully self-sustainable, the chief designer said, and to host a number of activities along with its chief mission of cleaning up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The GP that's so strange, isn't it, that thing even exists? It makes sense that it would exist, but if we can get rid of that, I feel like that's like a huge threshold for us, being like, hey, we can do this. But that thing is pretty big these days. It's pretty big. It really is pretty big. It's got its own ecosystem, which is, it's like a space station on the ocean. Exactly. The GPGP is very strange. It is kind of like a floating raft of it's like got insects on it, and birds are always nesting on it, and ocean critters are always like hiding underneath it. So the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is like this very strange ecosystem that is formed around the refuse that has coalesced into a single mass in the ocean. That is almost worthy of like some sort of documentary to figure out how that works. It probably is one, though. It's a very fascinating thing to think that an entire like reef of garbage could come together and make like an amalgamated, equally like another continent almost of garbage. Sorry, that's very strange. I'll look that up at some point. I might see if we can find some cool footage of it. A 900,000 square mile area characterized by high density of plastic waste, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is currently being cleared by large nets that use the currents to help them collect. 900,000 square mile. My gosh. That almost is like an island, isn't it? I was looking into marine species, animals as well as plants, and I was studying how they really interact with water environments, how they can harvest energy, how they work with nutrition, for example, said senior designer Lenka Petrokova at Zaha Hadid Architects in London, who won the award. 3 long legs, or maybe they should be called tentacles, okay, I'm into that, or fins, collect passing plastic waste as well as tidal energy to convert into electricity. Sitting on top are 3 research and education centers underneath 3 tall, spiraling greenhouses containing hydroponic gardens and a water desalination plant. Okay. The spine of the facility will house the living and working quarters, where collected waste is sorted and recycled, while the underwater draft spire will contain a viewing platform. Stirworld reports that there will be a biodegrading infrastructure on board to break down the plastic. Okay. At the moment, it's a big dream, as it's so early in the conceptual stage that materials haven't even been hypothesized yet. But they didn't stop Petrokova in an interview saying that she believes Elon Musk, with his penchant for super scientific machines and sleepless enthusiasm, would be the ideal patron to bring the project to life. Let's see. Even if it never cleaned up a single water bottle, the design is still fascinating and gorgeous to see. A better place to study the ocean one could never find. Just look at that thing. That is a bizarre looking building, but I like it. Oh, there it is. GPGP. Okay, this is what she said already. Oh, I like seeing when the clownfish are hanging out in the little strandly dudes. Oh my gosh. That looks bizarre. I like it though. I don't know. Let me know if you guys think it's like a kind of an ostentatious, sort of weird pseudo sci-fi building, but I think it's an okay looking thing. It's very strange. If I saw that on like an alien planet, I'd be like, oh, there's aliens living there. That's what I would think, right? they're alien people. These are just normal people that happen to live in an alien building if it gets built, though. The future is alien buildings. How long is this one? Wait, not too long. Making terrariums at home. They're beautiful and good for the mind. Gardeners tend to be happier than most because, among other reasons like getting more vitamin D or being in nature, they always have something to look forward to. But one of the most fascinating gardening trends is undoubtedly the popular advent of building and maintaining terrariums, little slices of tropical climate encased in glass jars, bottles, or fish tanks which, if prepared correctly, can last for decades. NASA describes a terrarium as a forest enclosed in its own little world, but there's no particular rule book for how to build a terrarium should be, or how big a terrarium should be, or what should be kept inside. The subreddit Let's Talk Terrariums bears witness to that. I think eventually, if your terrarium gets big enough, it's just a greenhouse, wouldn't you say? Right? You know, I mean, I'm sure there is like a line where it's like, oh, this is just a greenhouse now, you know, where it's like, it's not even a terrarium anymore. So I think that's the limit of how big it can be. This Redditor managed to compress that forest enclosed with its own little world into the pendant on a necklace. Wow. Well, this one 3D printed a special enclosure with beautiful lighting. Far from being simple eye candy, tending a terrarium can actually improve one's mind. Even the simple act of having a plant or two around will decrease anxiety and can help refresh one's mind after a period of focusing on work. This was particularly poignant when terrarium business owner told the BBC during lockdowns, "I saw a real influx in people wanting to get into horticulture and grow their green thumb. I did the same thing," says Emma Terrell from Ottawa, Canada. The Great White North also experienced a boom in cultivating mushrooms at home. I don't know if I'm a mycological guy, to be honest with you. I mean, mushrooms are great, and they're super good for you. Super high protein, super high dense calories. I've just never really found them to be very appetizing looking or smelling. You know, I guess that I have a bias. Terrell runs Urban Botanist, where she sells DIY supplies for making terrariums of all kinds. People saw it as a way to relax, unwind, get creative, and engage with that innate need within us to engage with nature. There's also a natural geometry, or so it's thought, of plants that make them appealing to look at. While humans tend to prefer things in symmetry, or in constant patterns like a spiral, and so plants' leaves or fern stalks may be nice to look at for reasons involving fractals and mathematics rather than just simple beauty. To get started, you can buy terrarium kits on Amazon. Making your own terrarium begins with first deciding whether one wants an open-air terrarium or a closed-off version. For a closed-off terrarium, pick a soil substrate that won't cultivate mold. James Wong, a botanist and author, told the BBC to use Kurodama soil, which is typical of bonsai trees, a species that can be at home in a terrarium. This Redditor used a Fukane T. Carmona bonsai. Next, pick plants that would be at home on the forest floor in the tropics. Simple species like moss and ferns work well. Oh my gosh. Look at these things. That's crazy. I've researched all the different species of moss. There's only one that's easily accessible and very reliable. It's called Lucibrium glossum, sold by florists as bun moss, Wong said. There's a limit in a closed ecosystem to how many plants can be sustained, so fill in gaps using decorative objects like stones, driftwood, or maybe even a garden gnome. NASA, for kids, suggests using a layer of activated charcoal above a strata of rocks at the bottom of the terrarium, under the soil, to help filter water and prevent the growth of mold. They say to put the terrarium in indirect sunlight, but Wong says you can use a growing light to help if the room is too dark. So, I have no problem with most garden gnomes. I just think some of them look very strange. You know, I'm not like an anti-garden gnome person. At the same time, though, I'm like, a little strange looking, you know. Also, they have a very strange history coming from Ireland, and or not necessarily Ireland, Sweden, that area in Europe. And they're very strange. Very, very strange. One of those strange things that made its way over to the United States somehow. Even though it's like totally like a pagan thing, right? People just are like, oh, it's just a joke, but it's like totally from a pagan thing. Which is interesting in my opinion. So here's another one. The club-tailed dinosaur. You should see the gnome that Rissy crocheted. You should ask her for a picture sometime. You know, I'll do that right now. Let me go send her a message. Let's see. Oh, she's online. When you can, show me a pic of your crochet gnomes. You've seen them, they look neat. I am looking forward to seeing them now that I've heard so much, good news about them. I'm hyped. So, the club-tailed dinosaur found in Chile had a weapon unlike anything seen before, entirely unprecedented. This is from December the 7th. It's called the Stigornus elengasen. Oh my gosh. A unique and entirely unprecedented species of ankylosaur has been discovered in southern Chile that has paleontologists throwing out the old textbooks. The dinosaur, famous for its hard, hammer-like lump of bone on the end of its tail and its scaly armored skin, has a new cousin named Stegosaurus elengasen. Stigornus, which sports a flat section of bone on the end of its tail, shaped like a cricket bat, surrounded by 7 protruding frond-like blades. Along with carrying totally unknown weaponry, the animal itself has cranial characteristics of a classic ankylosaur, but the pelvic and leg structure of a stegosaur, which the scientists who discovered it have used to base a new lineage of animals separate from both, which inhabited the southern Gondwana supercontinent 72 million years ago. Among the dinosaurs children grow up learning about, 2 closely related genera are always present. The tail club swinging ankylosaurs and the spiky stegosaurus. Both of these creatures lived during a time when theropods, like T-Rex, presented a ferocious predatorial danger, and so evolved unique tail weapons to defend themselves. The new, confusingly named fossil, Stigornus, looks more like an ankylosaurus than Stegosaurus. It was found in Patagonia, where a river's fine sediment had exquisitely preserved around 80% of the skeleton. That is a good find. 80% is huge. It was in 2017 when a team from the University of Texas went down to Chile looking for dinosaur bones that they found some of particular interest in the Rio de las Chinas Valley. Passing a tip off to Alexander Vargas, a paleontologist at the University of Chile, Vargas went down the year after to investigate. The bones National Geographic reports on were lodged at the top of a steep hillside and required them to be brought back to the lab in a plaster and stone block in sub-zero temperatures. Oh, wow. Carefully cleaning revealed the tail blade, which was reminiscent of weaponry made by pre-metallurgical warrior societies like the Aztec or the Maori. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, the obsidian blades, who would fasten shark's teeth or obsidian flakes to the edge of a sculpted wooden club, which the Aztecs and thus Vargas called a macuotl. Oh gosh, huitl. I don't know if that's right. The rest of the day, I was in shock, Vargas told National Geographic of the discovery. Patagonia would have formed part of a supercontinent called Gondwana, which consisted of South America, Africa, Antarctica, the Arabian Peninsula, and Indian subcontinent, and Australia. There are only 2 armed dinosaurs, like ankylosaurs, have ever been found, mostly cranial remains in Australia, and some sauce fragments from Antarctica, which bear a striking resemblance to the obsidian like tail blades on Stigornus peacekeeper. Revealed in a recent paper in Nature journal, the scientists took the similarities between these three unique specimens and the inability of them to be neatly fit into the lines of Ankylosauri to propose a new clade of armored Gondwanan dinosaurs called Parenchylosauridae, including Stegosaurus, but not Ankylosaurus or Stegosaurus. Man, that was a little bit more of a stretch of my tongue than I was ready for, but that's okay. So we'll probably do one more, and then we'll go on our little break. Ooh, this one has a video at the end of it too. Good. This is from the 8th by Isla Ross. Ayla Ross? I don't know. Eco-friendly jelly ice cube could transform cold storage, no plastic, and doesn't melt. Oh my gosh. Researchers at the University of California, Davis, have developed a new type of cooling cube that could revolutionize how food is kept cold and shipped fresh without relying on ice or traditional cooling packs. These plastic-free jelly ice cubes do not melt, are compostable and antimicrobial, and prevent cross-contamination. When ice melts, it's not reusable, said Gongsun, a professor in the Department of Biological and Agricultural Engineering. We thought we could make a so-called solid ice to serve as a cooling medium and be reusable. The cooling cubes contain more than 90% water and other components to retain and stabilize the structure. They are soft to the touch, like a gelatin dessert, and change color depending on temperature. I love these things already. They sound awesome. These reusable cubes can be designed or cut to any shape and size needed, said Jihan Zhu. You can use it for 13 hours for cooling. Collect it, rinse it with water, and put it in the freezer to freeze again for the next use, Sun added. A patent for the design and concept was filed in July. The researchers hope to eventually use recycled agricultural waste or byproduct as the coolant material. We want to make sure this is sustainable, said Luxin Wang, an associate professor in the Department of Food Science and Technology. The researchers began working on the coolant cubes after Wang saw the amount of ice used at fish processing plants and the cross-contamination that meltwater could spread among products or down the drain. The amount of ice used by these fish processing sites is massive, Wang said. We need to control the pathogens. Sun also lamented mold found in the plastic ice packs used with school lunches for kids, and frequently found in shipping packages. Early tests have shown the cubes can withstand up to 22 pounds without losing form. They can be reused a dozen times, just a quick wash with water or diluted bleach, and then disposed of in the trash or with yard waste. The jelly ice cubes offer an alternative to traditional ice and could potentially reduce water consumption and environmental impact. They also offer stable temperatures to reduce food spoilage and could be ideal for meal prep companies, shipping businesses, and food producers who need to keep items cold. The application could potentially reduce water consumption in the food supply chain and food waste by controlling microbial contaminations. So this is my favorite one so far. Look at them. These squishy little cubes. Squish them like, I don't know what they're supposed to be like, but they're just great. If I see one of these in a glass cup, like for drinking out of, I would be so happy to have these. They look so cool. They look amazing. I'm super into this. I really am super into these. All right. Oh, wow. They're like a tofu block. Oh, wow. Oh. Look at that. Oh my gosh, look at that. That's fantastic. That's my favorite one so far. That's my favorite one. I hope we can see some more ice cubes in the future because those things are amazing. Alright folks, we are going to take a quick little break. So what we do on our halfway point is we stand up, we stretch ourselves out, get some snacks or some tea, go to the bathroom, and then come on back in 5 minutes, and then we'll get started again, right back into the good news, and maybe some animal pictures too, who knows. Anyway, so get up and move around if you'd like to, because that's what I'm going to do. So be right back. And we're back. I hope everybody had a nice little break. I was in the bathroom a little longer than I wanted to be, but that's okay. So we're about halfway through our stories. We're on time right now. But I have something to show you guys from my trip to the animal shelter today. And it is a lovely little trip that I've had. Let's see, where does this one begin? I'll start from there. Okay, let me get my display going. There. Okay, so here is the lovely little Maple. Maple is, I believe, a calico, or unless I'm wrong. And they were like a brindle color. They were not really feeling very happy to be around me. I was trying to get them to, get a close up of their face, but they didn't want to. They were feeling very, very photogenic, it seems. Oh, you saw those, yeah, they're very good. This one was named Hugo. Yeah, this is Hugo, who was a short-haired domestic with orange and white spots. Oh, Hugo had the cutest eyes. So Hugo, I was holding on to Hugo for a good 15 minutes because when I took him out, he was just so needy. He was like meowing and crying a little bit, and I was like, oh, I think this boy needs to be held for a little while. I ended up holding him in 3 separate occasions, and I just sort of hung out with him for a good 15 minutes. The one with the dog nods back. Oh yeah, those, yeah. Yeah, and me and Hugo were just hanging out for a little while. Yeah, there's Juice. Me and Hugo were just hanging out for a little while. And gave him plenty of pets. He was hissing at the other cats, though. I think he had a lot of problems with the cats that he was hanging around with. There was a huge dog, probably over 70 pounds, that was trying to get me to hang out with him. But, he was just so excited and so crazy energetic that the second I was like, I don't know about this, and walked away, he started barking really loudly at me. So I was like, I think I made the right choice. But Zeus was very calm, very quiet, very happy to see someone coming up to him. And he had a lot of energy, too. But I got him to go on his back a few times. Oh, I can't believe that he was so playful, even though I was a complete stranger. He was, so happy to be out roaming about and away from the other dogs, I think. And here's him before I had to say goodbye to him for the day. He looked so freaking happy to see me. I may have that as my background on my phone for a little while. Yeah, Zeus is, I like he was licking he's licking his chops there for a second. Yeah, he was really enjoying himself, and he got to have a little bit of time out. Oh, it's a lovely, lovely thing. Very lovely. Certainly one of my favorite visits that I've had so far. And if I had to say, I would be more than happy if I had another visit like that in the future. But that is enough of our animals for today, for my stories. And let's see, we are moving on to something else for a short time. We have some animal videos that I have compiled. So I will show those to you now while I read you some more good news. We have farm dog goes to groomer, first time ever. Oh. Freeze this one. There we go. I don't care about this. This is Gold Shop Farm. No, I wanted to grow with the dogs. No, I don't care about these people. You know what? Never mind. I wanted a girl with the dogs video. Oh, guinea pigs react to miniature Starbucks. Yeah, that's good. That'll be fine. Oh my gosh. Aww. So he makes this like Starbucks for them, and the guinea pigs are like, I don't know what this is. They don't know what to do with it, right? Because they're just like, I don't know what this is. I'm tofu. Oh man. If only Starbucks sold tofu, I would be all over it. I'd be all over it. Oh no, he can't. He doesn't. He's too big. I don't think I can fit. I'll just eat this chair instead. Oh. Oh, what a cutie. Gosh. I'm a huge fan of these videos of animals being treated as if they're going to a normal place to get normal food. I like that a lot. Oh, here's you going to. Look at his little skills. That otter has so many good skills. Look at him go. Or look at her juggling. My gosh, look at her. That's really insane to me. To think that an otter would have that ability to juggle like that. Have you seen the Kiwi Bird from New Zealand? You're into them right now, and they are smaller than chicken flightless birds. That's because it's also ice, it's slippery. I don't know, it looks like ice for sure. That's eating much. Oh, it's like a miso soup almost. My dad loves miso soup. I think it's a little meh though. Might just be an udon. A Dunkin' Donuts employee in Ohio recently received a huge surprise from one of her loyal customers, a fully furnished home. Employee Ebony Johnson met customer Suzanne Burke at the drive-thru window she was serving at 3 years ago. They chatted every time Burke came for her coffee in the mornings, and the two became friendly. Oh, I know. Thank you, Chia. When Burke found out that her acquaintance, a mother of three, had fallen on difficult times and had been evicted from her home in Mount Healthy, she made it her mission to help reaching out to organizations that help people through difficulty. Now enjoying a fully decorated, cozy place to stay, Johnson is finally looking forward to the upcoming holidays. And hello, Rain. I'm just so thankful we're back in our home, Johnson said to WCPO News. Oh, lovely. These otters they just can't get enough of their little kibbles, can they? Tom Brady FaceTimes with high school team after they dialed the wrong number. Wow. This is from the 9th, just a few days ago. In one of the most serendipitous mistakes ever made, the entering of a friend's phone number incorrectly in a group text inadvertently connected a Michigan high school basketball team with an all-time, greatest of all time and quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady. Otters usually eat nothing but fish, so it's obvious they might be crazy about good. Oh. It might be, yeah. Good kibbles. It might be Sunday kibbles. Sunday makes really good food for animals. It started when the freshman basketball team at Notre Dame Prep in Pontiac, Michigan, made a group text to coordinate practices, and teammate Vinny Tartaglia accidentally added the number of Bucks cornerback Sean Murphy Bunting. It's okay. We were trying to add people. The last person was Lusa, but I was one digit off. Oh my gosh, Tartaglia told local news. P. Jason Wallen, a school counselor at Notre Dame, whose son is on the team, documented the story on Twitter. Obviously needing to prove his identity to the disbelieving teenagers, Murphy Bunting switched over to FaceTime and introduced the presumably shocked students to some of his teammates, including tight end Rob Gronkowski and running back Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette walked us through the locker room and showed us all the players, said Tartaglia's teammate Nate Seaman. Sean Murphy Bunting, Mike Evans, Levant Davis, Gronk, Richard Sherman. That's when we all said, "Where's the GOAT?" It would be the Fournette who then turned the phone over to Tom Brady, a Michigan alumni himself. That was sweet, Brady told CNN of the meeting. I didn't know who it was, Leonard said. Here's my boy, or whatever he said. It was nice. It would have been nice for me when I had been in high school, too. The reporter would inform the 7-time Super Bowl winner that the boys were from Michigan. Even better, he said. That was fun. That was really fun. It was really good to see all those young kids hyped up. Wallen confirmed that, tragically, it was only after the FaceTime call ended that Luca, the teammate whose number started the fiasco, was added to the group text. Oh, man, that's too bad. That's too bad. Oh. That's a blitz syndrome right there. It's one digit and one digit off, and you call Tom Brady, basically, right? That is crazy. Oh, here's a really good one, actually. Here's a really good one. This is going up on the screen. Look at all this. It's always crazy how we have so much stuff on the screen at once sometimes. Oh, you know what? I want to watch some Axolotl videos. Oh, this is a cute mink, though. I do like seeing the mink in the water. A United Airlines flight from Michigan or from Chicago O'Hare to D.C. Reagan National is nothing to write home about, but the 100 people who were aboard United's recent Wednesday service were part of aviation history. They were on the first passenger aircraft flight ever to be powered by 100% plant-based jet fuel designed by Virent and derived from agricultural waste like corn cobs and stalks. Current legislation allows for aircraft to be powered only with 50% renewable fuels, and after completing a test flight without passengers in October, Virent and United were allowed to fill up entirely with the biofuel. Performance indicators, according to the company, were the same as with fossil fuels. One of the major advantages... I'm going to turn this off, actually. With Virent is the chemical similarities to petroleum-based jet fuel in terms of boiling point, thermal stability, and freeze points. This, the company hopes, means their biofuels can simply replace fossil fuels, but without replacing any of the infrastructure. Today's flight is not only a significant milestone for efforts to decarbonize our industry, but when combined with the surge in commitments to produce and purchase alternative fuels, we're demonstrating the impactful way companies can join together and play a role in addressing the biggest challenge of our lifetimes, said United CEO Scott Kirby in a Wednesday statement. I love this mink is just enjoying themselves, aren't they? Aviation is sometimes quoted as being 2% to 2.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions, Others have quoted it as 5% if one accounts for CO2 equivalents, and others put it at 3.5%, probably closer to 3.5. Known as synthetic aromatic kerosene, Virent's fuel turns plant sugars into an oil through a multi-step patented process that reduces greenhouse gas emissions when burned in flight by around 50%. It's still in the research and development phase, funded mainly by Delaware's Marathon Petroleum, as a way of transitioning to a more carbon-neutral production strategy. United Airlines will be partnering with Virent as hopes to reach carbon neutrality by 2050. With their support, Virent hopes to neutralize... No, I don't want this person. No, I don't want them. Axolotl. There we go, that's what I'm looking for. The blobberfish. The blobfish. Here we go, folks. Axolotl videos. I think axolotls are really cute. I've always thought they were really cool. Aww. No, it's okay. I've got it. But thank you. Axolotls recognize their owners. I didn't know that. They just look so cool. 60 visitors got snowed in at a UK pub for 3 days and loved it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Playful. When 60 revelers went for a night in the UK's highest pub, snowdrifts and downed power lines ensured that they got more time at the bar than they bargained for. Yet between an Oasis cover band, tabletop games, trivia, and sing-along Christmas carols, 3 whole days in which no one who entered could leave passed in holiday cheer, and the guests loved every minute of it. Oh, that's so lovely. Whoops. Oh. Oh my gosh, look at them. They're all in good spirits. They're all eating and drinking well, said co-owner of the Tan Hill pub, Andrew Healds, to CNN. Tan Hill can be found in Swaledale in the beautiful Yorkshire Dales in northeast England, 1,732 feet above sea level, making it the highest sitting pub in the UK. 3 roads lead up to Tan Hill, 2 of which are covered in snowdrifts by storm. Oh, look at that guy. Oh, just enjoying the bubbles. Axolotls are so cute. They're just big old cutie pies. Oh, look at them. Just sitting there, just enjoying themselves. Just flopping around like big old tadpoles. 3 roads lead up to Tan Hill, 2 of which were covered in snowdrifts by Storm Arwen, and the last road out was blocked by a downed power line. Some guests arrived Friday night with the intention of camping, but the storm destroyed their tents and campsite, so the staff made beds for them in the pub. Tan Hill described it as a life-changing experience, calling the employees and the guests who came together under challenging circumstances amazing people. You guys have been amazing. You've worked never-ending shifts to keep us well-fed and watered, wrote another of the revelers, Becky Longthorpe, on Facebook. You guys have been amazing. Excuse me. We will never forget this extraordinary experience. In some places, Arwen bouts brought winds of 90 miles per hour and brought civilization to a brief standstill. Tan Hill has faced such squalls before, and the owner said that as soon as the Met Police office put out the storm warning, they stocked up on food and water. Oh, they suck in their breath like a vacuum cleaner. Whoa. Completely off the grid, the downing of power lines didn't affect their electricity needs, and the shut-ins were able to shut out the weary world for a weekend. That's so cute. Aww. It literally called why. I love that they're just chilling out constantly. Oh no. I hope that we can save the axolotls. They're just really cute. I like them a lot. Aww. They're just really cute. I think they're really cute and really good looking. They just look really cool. Oh. So we're going to do a few more news stories, and then we'll probably wind down for the day. Might be a slightly more shorter stream than usual. Oh, I just love how happy they look. I really do like how happy they look. Meet the sustainable alternative to concrete that caught the eye of Dior and Louis Vuitton. Oh, Louis Vuitton makes me think of David Bowie. This is by Andy Corbley from yesterday. Look at that little guy. They're so slimy looking. They look so slimy. Oh my gosh. What do an American crayfish, a Japanese weed, and a French fashion label and a British designer have in common? They're coming together to create a more sustainable concrete. Using Japanese knotweed and shells from American signal crayfish to replace the sand and rocks that make traditional concrete strong but extremely emissions heavy, a pair of British designers, Bridget Koch and Irene Roca Mauricio, have created a truly unique material that's caught the eye of LVMH, a conglomerate which includes luxury brands Dior and Louis Vuitton. Inspired by a hefty price tag of $1.8 billion for the annual cost of removing invasive species like these two from the UK, Koch and Mauricio discovered they could instead be used as the reinforcing agents in concrete. Japanese knotweed has no predators in the UK, and because it slowly destroys asphalt and other surfaces, it is collected by specialists, removers, and incinerated. Are we still doing tomorrow? We can talk after stream about it. Probably still doing tomorrow. We'll see, though. The ash is used like sand, according to old recipes the Romans once used to make concrete, while the pulverized shells of the crayfish act like the gravel or rocks. American signal crayfish undercut riverbanks and can lead to erosion and over-sedimentation of waterways. Oh, what a cutie. Axolotls are just so cute. They're just so cute. They're so freaking adorable. Let him go into his tank. Yeah, I understand. I'll let you know if I think of anything. I have no thoughts at the moment, though. We've played with the percentages and ratios to obtain really strong results, Mauricio explained to Dutch publication De Zien. The final colors and textures depend on the curing time and the aggregates, chemical reactions with the binder and the water. We want to showcase the absurdity of the classification and disposal rules here in the UK that do not allow anything to be done with those species after they are treated and sealed in bags. While you can easily order those byproducts online and import them from China, for example, said Mauricio. Jade green, dark burgundy, marbled colors, natural stone, or unpolished concrete. Patrons can have their bioconcrete in many striking colors and textures. Their project was commissioned by the Maison Zero graduate program at Central St. Martin's in Arts and Design College in London. Let me see if we can get another one of these oxyqual videos. Oh. Axolotl with poor aim. Organized by LVMH, the project aims to create sustainable versions of building materials for use in their luxury stores. Just to create cement, with which one must mix sand and gravel and water to get concrete, the process creates 0.6 tons of CO2 per ton of cement. Sand mining is incredibly carbon intensive as well as other forms of mining to acquire the gravel. Any structurally viable alternative would be welcomed by firms worldwide looking to reduce their emissions. But rather than simply inventing a less bad alternative, Marassia and Koch wanted to make one that actively improved the environment. Okay, just a few more left. Actually, I might end it there, to be honest with you. Here's the last one we'll do. Last one for today. Revolutionary technology neutralizes radioactivity around Chernobyl by 47% using only the processes of Earth. Rain will know this is particularly interesting to me because of the game that I'm playing outside of all this. As they committed to doing last April, on the occasion of the 35th commemorative of the Chernobyl accident, the Swiss-based company Exaltera has reported spectacular results after 1 year of decontamination on a 2.5 acre plot of land, 1 hectare, located in the radioactive exclusion zone around the plant in Ukraine. Exaltera announced last month that radioactive pollution in the soil decreased by 47% and in the air above the ground by an average of 37%, 1 year after the installation of its NSPS technology. The company believes that total remediation of the area is seriously conceivable within 4 years without moving any earth or using any chemicals. Sustainability is what it's all about on Exaltera, which was co-founded in 2013 by Polish-American Andrew Niemczyk. So far, its novel technologies are not only able to safely clean radiation-scarred landscape with promising prospects from the treatment of radioactive waste, but also transform hydraulic power and boost the nutrition levels of trees. The NSPS underground technology was installed at Chernobyl between November 2019 and September 20th, and it significantly accelerated the decay of radioactive elements by harnessing existing energy in the ground in a sustainable process. It uses a series of tubes that are a specific shape with a designed length and distance between each other, which enables the radionuclides to naturally decontaminate at a much faster pace than the 24,000 years it would take on its own. My gosh, that's a big change if you ask me. 12 months after its deployment, the radioactive substances CS137, SR90, and AM241 were reduced by 47% on average. The methodology and rigorous measurement processes were carried out by the Ukrainian experts like Sergei Kirev, who have been in charge of caring for the plant since it was capped for safety decades ago. These results are remarkable, says Kirev, General Director of SSE Eco Center in Chernobyl. It is the first time in 35 years that such any technology has succeeded in reducing the level of radioactivity in the soil and air so significantly. This is a real hope for the whole area. This 12-month reduction in radioactivity will allow us to bring the parcel back to its original radioactivity level over a 5-year period, explains Frank Muller. We also want to quickly offer our solution to the other problematic sites around the world, including Fukushima in Japan. The NSPS technology uses scientific concepts of particle physics and nuclear energy to solve the problem of severe contamination. It leverages, in particular, high-velocity particles, also known as positrons, to direct this naturally occurring force towards radioactive isotopes in the soil and breaks the bonds holding them together. This is done safely under the surface of the soil, and no radioactivity is released further into the ground or above the ground in the air, according to Exaltera. Once the positron comes in contact with the radioactive isotope, it rejoins an electron and annihilates back to its original matter. What seemed impossible is now a reality, said Exalterra president and CTO Nimsik in the company announcement. NSPS is an innovation that allows positrons to naturally accelerate in a passive system to remove contaminated areas. It harnesses renewable energy sources present in nature to considerably accelerate the natural decomposition process of contaminants in the soil. In addition to treating radioactivity, NSPS technology can also be used to treat other types of soil contamination, including heavy metals and perfluoroalkyl substances, which are highly problematic for the environment. We are only at the beginning of the virtuous application of such a technology, says inventor Nimsik. As with our other successful commercialized technologies, we have demonstrated that we can use nature's resources to heal the wounds we inflict on it. The common denominator of our technologies installed underground is the use of natural and renewable forces to achieve tangible results. I don't know what this person is even doing right now. What are they even doing? I'm confused what's going on. I wasn't looking for too long. Oh, I think they're making I like seeing the Axolotl, whatever you call them. I like seeing them. Let me open up that window that was closed for that moment. There we go. There we go. Other positive aspects of this technology include being energy passive and maintenance free. Nimsik's breakthrough NSPS technology is featured in a new book, Grounds for Freedom, Saving Chernobyl, by journalist R.J. King, who also set up a website, savingchernobyl.com. And here's a nice little video to end our show on. It's kind of hard to believe that Chernobyl might be like a place you can just go in a couple of years. Wouldn't that be amazing to just go to Chernobyl and visit the site and be like, oh, it's fine, no problem here. I can't even imagine that. Radiation might not be a problem in the near future. I guess the next step would be removing radiation from people as opposed to from the environment. That'd be really cool. Like this guy's like, we don't have time to wait for that to happen. We gotta make it happen now. Vladimir Shetalov. I like the name. Well, folks, a little shorter episode today. I have to admit, I am a bit tired from everything I've gotten done, even though I didn't do everything I wanted to. Radiation needs to be removed, period, so nobody suffers from it. I agree with you, but it is a natural part of the world itself to create radiation, right? Radioactive material is just exists, right? Like plutonium, which is created from radium and palladium, and it is dangerous. It's true. I mean, palladium and radium are pretty radioactive on their own, but they're not active as far as like a nuclear power plant would be considered. Making them not dangerous is what we would want to do, like you said, make them not dangerous. But I mean, you know, there's always going to be radiation on the planet, just because, just like we're looking at right now, the Aurora Borealis is a thing, which is really beautiful. And doctors zap it into people on purpose. It's true. Right now, chemotherapy is an incredibly useful piece of technology for a lot of reasons. However, I doubt a lot of its effectiveness. I know it has helped people. At the same time, I can only hope that in the future we can make it less of a problem to be irradiated as a necessity for fighting cancer. I think in the near future it won't be as big of a problem, and we'll get through it in a much better way. But yeah, that's it for me, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope that you enjoyed yourself and that you had a relaxing time. We're gonna stop about a half hour earlier than usual, and I'm glad we could do this. As always, you guys are great, and thank you so much for, you know, allowing me to do this, allowing me to have a nice chill evening to hang out with you guys. Aw, you're still here in part because of radiation. I'm so glad that you got it here, though. It would be a much less enjoyable, cute, and fun world if you weren't here with us this Friday. As always, love you guys. Thank you, everybody, for being active in chat. And good night. As always, you stay safe, have a quiet night, get to rest well, and take care. We'll see you next time, okay? Love you guys. Bye-bye.